Hello, everyone. Kino here. Welcome back to another House of the Dragon reaction. My hair actually always looks stupid when I wear this crown, but we'll just deal with that because you know what? The crown, has consequences, like Viserys says in this episode. Um, but I just watched it's the second to last episode of season two. It's called A Red Sewing. I got excited when I saw that was the title because I was like, that the House Greyjoy's words are "We do not sow," and Dalton Greyjoy is called the Red Kraken. And I'm pretty sure they referenced him a couple episodes back. And I was like, "Ooh, maybe Dalton's gonna appear." I love the House Greyjoy, but no, there's not in this episode. I don't think he will appear probably until next season, if at all. But we'll have to see. This episode, had some good stuff in it, some interesting stuff, but also some weird stuff that I kind of was like, let's talk about the good stuff. So, finally, Damon's stupid Harrenhal arc is at an end. I've been paying attention to how fans have been receiving it, and like universally, Damon's arc this season has been so boring. Like, it's not that nothing is happening; it's just so repetitive. Just constantly these scenes of him and Harrenhal having these dreams that really don't seem to be advancing his character, at least not in a meaningful way. And again, I'm gonna give some slight spoilers here, but again, if you know from the books of what happens, like Damon starts out as an asshole and kind of changes not to. I mean, he's still probably an asshole by the end, but like he grows to not be so like you know such an asshole. He's like he's lived too long. He's ready to let go by the end here, and I could see where they're going for some of that stuff. Like, I think the Harrenhal visions are meant to kind of soften him a little bit and be like, yeah, you've been an asshole for a while here. Um, but the problem is, like, we still have, like, probably half a show to go. And it doesn't feel like he's meaningfully changed this season as a result of these visions. It's just been, like, filler time. Like we could have cut all of these scenes and just had this be like one episode about Damon, like having the visions in Harrenhal, recruiting the River Lords. This could have been one episode of putting it all together like this. But the problem is stretching it out over all these episodes. It's just kind of boring and repetitive. Like he finally gets the River Lords together here, and it's like it's this has been such an issue like this whole season, and I can understand why they're doing it. It is kind of cool that they're exploring like the politics of like the individual lords and stuff like this. It's they're kind of caught in this halfway point though between like really exploring it and not really exploring it. Like, yes, the River Lords are a very quarrelsome bunch, and it's like wrangling cats, herding cats. But the problem is does the average viewer get a real sense of like the politics of the Riverlands? Not really. It's just like the same point hit over and over again that like the River Lords don't like Daemon. They're fighting, among each other about certain stuff. Like we're not given like a real kind of political lesson about like we sort of get it a little bit with Blackwood and Bracken, but it happens at the beginning of the season, and then throughout the entire season we get none of that stuff. Like you don't learn anything about House Mallister. You don't learn anything about the phrase. I mean, we saw the phrase last episode, but we're not really getting a sense of like maybe how did the phrase feel. They're this upstart kind of house that's trying to like legitimize themselves. We see that kind of arc play out in Game of Thrones. So but we're not really getting any of that here. We're not getting anything about House Piper. We're not getting anything about House any of these other houses that are like key figures in the Riverlands. We're not really getting an in-depth lesson. It's just like, oh, it's harder than he thought it was to get all the lords together. So, I mean, I appreciate that at least they're addressing that, but if we're spending like hours upon hours in this storyline, we're not getting as much as we should be for the amount of time we have invested. I will say though, I did like that they showed House Blackwood as like the aggressor in this one, because I mentioned this before in the books. Almost universally, the Blackwoods are the good house and the Brackens are the bad house. So I kind of like how they inverted it a little bit. Makes it feel a little bit more like a fair um, cycle of conflict between the Blackwoods and the Brackens. Like throughout all of history, because the Blackwoods, I said, are an old god worshipping house. George has typically put them on the good side. Like the Brackens supported the Blackfire rebellions. The Brackens supported. I don't know if they supported the Mad King or not, but you get it. Like they're always on the wrong side of every conflict. So I appreciate how they showed that Blackwood can be bad too. Um, we have more of the Dragon Seed plot in this episode. They finally get all the Dragon Seed together. Um, you know, I can see where they're trying to inject some like character conflict onto the black side, because um fans have been complaining this season that like the black side is like so boring. Like they have no internal conflict. They have nothing going on. It's just Rhaenyra being good and being morally wronged throughout the whole season, versus the green side. Even though they're more assholes, they're interesting at least because there's like conflict between Aemon and Aegon. There's conflict between the mother and her sons. There's conflict between Larys and these other people. It's like there's a lot of infighting and it's very interesting. The black side, they're so boring. Like even Corlys, like his wife died a couple episodes back and nothing. We got one scene of Bela being like, "You still have to fight, Grandpa, because Rhaenyra is the queen, and you gotta do the right thing." And like nothing about Corlys's development, nothing about him. Does he regret his like obsession with power? Is he resentful of Rhaenyra for having his wife killed? He's just like, he just stands around, hands behind his back, going like, I wonder when I'll get a chance to have some dialogue in this. Like, he's so boring. Like his two bastard sons are now integral to the plot, and he's just like, he's got nothing to say to them either. He's just like, is the ship ready? My bastard son. And he's like, yep. And he's like, okay, cool, bye. Like, God, they refuse to have any kind of like negative any kind of negativity with any of the I say black characters, not literally just referring to Corlys because he's black, but like their side, the black faction versus the green faction, which is Alicent's side. But they refuse to have any kind of conflict on the black side because, again, they're the morally correct side, so they can't have any kind of infighting. They can't have any kind of like Corlys can't be resentful of Rhaenyra at all because she's the queen and it's her rightful place, and it's those evil greens that are behind us all. It's like it makes the characters feel so flat on this side. Now there was one interesting moment during this, which was when Rhaenyra has all the dragon seed going for the dragons, and then Vermithor starts like killing all the dragon seed. She stops them from leaving. Like the guards physically hold them there, and most of them die or are burned up. And she doesn't react at all like sad, even though she makes a big point about being like, it's my duty to avoid war because the small folk will be in trouble. Again, painting her is like the best possible, like, she's progressive. She stands for the rights of the common people instead of just the nobility, even though there's nothing in the books that suggests that about Rhaenyra. Even though she's doing that, like, she's not. The show has a weird, like, it shows that she's not concerned at all about all the people dying here. And I wondered, like, is that them trying to say that, like, oh, Rhaenyra is a hypocrite? Is that their attempt to make her more complicated by being like, oh, she doesn't actually care about the small folk? If that is the case, it was very sloppy, because you don't want to have just one scene of her acting completely out of character for how you've characterized her throughout the entirety of the rest of the season. You would want to show scenes of her basically hinting at this for a while. That's like, no, it's not really about the people; it's about her. If that's the direction that they were trying, I don't know if that's what they were trying to do with that scene, but it felt weird to me how unconcerned she was about the people. And if that was the case, they handled it very poorly. We'll see next episode, but maybe next episode she'll have a scene of like, oh my god, all these poor people who died. And I get I can already hear the counter argument that like, no, they signed up for it, so they knew. But like, yeah, you can still understand that like, when the dragon starts burning people alive, yeah, maybe let them escape. You know, you don't have to hold them there. But if it was some kind of condemnation of Rhaenyra's character, it was done very sloppily. Also, I find the dragon seeds, you know, Hugh, the Hammer, and Ulf Whitehair, or whatever, Whitemane, whatever his name, I can't remember, Ulf. You know, Hugh has been characterized. You know, this series actually we spent time with Hugh outside of him being connected as a dragon seed. They've shown him as a very upright, morally correct character, which makes me wonder how they're going to handle later developments. And again, I kind of worry that like again, because he's on the black side, he won't be portrayed negatively at all. There won't be a betrayal like there is in the books. And I really worry going into this that like, yeah, Rhaenyra's side can just do no wrong. None of the characters on her side can do anything wrong besides Daemon. None of the characters can do anything bad. They're all the good guys, and it's all the Greens are the bad guys. We'll have to see, but like, they're not. From what we've seen of Hugh specifically, there's nothing to indicate that he would do something bad later on. Ulf, a little bit, like, I mean, he's a coward, so maybe you could justify that, but again, there's no hint that like, oh, these are selfish people here who are gonna work for themselves instead of Rhaenyra. By the way, there was such a weird scene when Ulf's in the bar with his two friends. The dialogue when these two were like talking to him, it did not feel like Game of Thrones at all. I don't know if anyone else notices. It's a small thing. The scene only lasts for like 30 seconds, but like the way they were talking for him, it's like it felt like something out of a modern TV show. They're like, "Come on, bro, you got to get to the like." Like the dialogue, it just didn't. The way they delivered the lines did not feel like Game of Thrones' is kind of medieval classical delivery. It's like they're like, "What? Are you telling me you're not really a dragon rider? What?" Like it was so weird. Like the way that guy delivered that line. I don't know. It just, I mean, not to say that the series has never had bad acting or whatever. It's not just bad acting. It was just like it felt like the way he delivered the line, it felt like a modern kind of either like, hold up, you're telling me, like, it just felt like that's how modern people talk, not how people in medieval fantasy shows kind of talk. I don't know, it's a small thing. I just instantly recognized it. What else? We got some stuff with Aegon. The ending of the episode is kind of weird too. It ends on this really weird point. You would think it would end with the two of them on their, like, we see Ulf flying through King's Landing, and then Aemon follows him, and then he turns away at the last second, I guess because he realizes it's a trap. I get from a plot perspective, they're like, oh, okay, so that's how they know that they have dragon riders now. But I don't know. It just ended on a weird spot. You would think it would end differently. But that's pretty much the episode. The season finale is next episode. From the preview, it looks like there's going to be a big battle. We'll see how that goes down. But overall, I mean, the season's been very weak. We'll see if the final episode could tie it up. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go back and watch most of the season. It's been very boring. So anyway, thank you guys for listening to this, and stay tuned for the next reaction coming soon.